Snake, you've been tasked with reviewing the game Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater.
Snake Eater? Didn't I already review that?
No, Snake, you reviewed Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. This is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater.
What's the difference?
Delta is a remake of the original game that you played on the PS2. Delta is a PS5 game.
PS5?
Yes, it's the latest console in the PlayStation series.
What's the need for a remake when I can play all prior PlayStation games anyway?
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
On the PS2, I could play Metal Gear Solid 1, even though that came out on the PlayStation 1. So it must follow that I can play all the games of the prior PlayStations on the PS5.
Yes, well, you can't.
Huh?
Yes, you can only play PS4 games on the PS5. All prior games are incompatible. If you want to play Ape Escape 3, I'm afraid you're out of luck. Cheer up, Snake. After all, you've got a mission to complete. I'll be here if you need me. Also joining us is an IGN journalist. Her frequency will be 142.71. Good luck, Snake. We're all counting on you. I've been a fan of the Metal Gear Solid series for almost 20 years, and Snake Eater was always my favourite of them. With the release of Delta, I decided to replay that original game all the way through for the first time in a while. It still holds up brilliantly. Its story is remarkable and emotional, while the endlessly inventive gameplay is as fun as ever. It's completely full of personality. Really, I could sit here and sing the praises of the original Snake Eater all day, and I know I'm not alone, as it's probably the most loved entry of the entire series. When remaking it, Konami had to be careful, because doing it the wrong way could upset a lot of people. And so with Delta, they seem to have basically taken a if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach. I find it hard to discuss how I would even rate this remake, as it is basically the exact same game. Remember that I played the original just before doing Delta, and so that game was completely fresh in my mind. I can honestly say that in terms of enemy and item placement, and almost all cutscenes and dialogue, I noticed nothing different whatsoever. I say almost all, because some of the stock footage used during cutscenes was different, probably for copyright reasons. For dialogue, the only difference I noticed was that during the first codec call save with Paramedic, she mentions 2024 being the 70th anniversary of Godzilla, while in the original she spoke about 2004 being the 50th. This was a nice update, but of course it's so incredibly minor. The fact that I mentioned it at all just shows how little has changed here. They didn't even re-record the dialogue, let alone attempt to change it. Of course, the gameplay itself isn't entirely the same. Most things feel a lot smoother just by the fact that the controls have been modernised. You can choose between a legacy style and a new style in Delta. One of the differences of these is that the legacy style is a sort of fixed camera angle like the original, while the new style is third person. But this is somewhat misleading, for while the original release of Snake Eater on the PS2 didn't have third person, the Subsistence Edition and subsequent ones like the HD remaster on PS3 and Xbox 360 did. And not only did they have third person, but they let you freely switch between third person and fixed camera angles with the press of a button, something that Delta lacks. I think that referring to fixed camera angles as part of a legacy style is deliberately misleading, because it makes the third-person camera angle seem more revolutionary than it actually is. In fact, you've been able to play Snake Eater this way for almost 2 decades now, and not being able to switch freely between it and fixed angles is a definite blot on Delta. The graphics are also obviously very different and far more realistic compared to the original. I enjoyed playing one of my favourite games with an entirely different look. It was as though I'd stepped into another dimension where Snake Eater was made in 2025 rather than 2004, and for the most part I think these environments are quite breathtaking. The unnamed Soviet landscape is full of stunning locations. I enjoyed the different experience. However, I wouldn't say it was better or that I preferred it. While the graphics are more realistic and detailed, a lot of the style is actually lost. The often sepia tone of the original is gone completely. Now many of these areas look like they could belong to any number of modern games. If I saw a screenshot of the original, I would know instantly it was from Snake Eater, a screenshot of the new one, and I might have to think a while. Another change that I liked, but once again found the original to be superior in, was the James Bond style introduction with the famous theme song. This introduction is visually stunning and exciting, but even then, I don't think there's anything the original doesn't do better. The vocals are being re-recorded, and while it's impressive how well Cynthia Harrell's voice has held up, she sings it a bit more like a live performance. I feel like it doesn't quite reach those exciting highs, nor does it have the mystique of her original recording. Even something like the way the title appears on the screen during these credits just doesn't have the same power. But my biggest gripe is how in this new introduction, various scenes from the game, including spoilers, are included. The original also had clips from the game, but they weren't spoilers, and they were often colour graded in a way different to how they actually were in the game, and they blended in better with the graphics used. I've mentioned a lot of things I prefer about the original game, but make no mistake, this is almost the exact same experience, and because it basically plays completely like one of the greatest games ever made, I couldn't help but have an amazing time. I was never bored playing Delta, and I've already lost a lot of hours in it, and to be fair to Konami, I'm happy that they have done a remake where almost nothing was left out. Even game modes which weren't on the non-PS2 editions like Snake vs Monkey and Guy Savage are included here. That's great, because they probably could have gotten away with not including these, and I doubt it would have made much of a difference to the game's sales. Longtime fans would put up a fuss, and I'd be among them, but we'd have probably still bought the game. However, I must say that this is not my preferred style of remake. I don't want the exact same experience. I can play the original Snake Eater, not exactly a hard game to find compared to some PS2 classics considering all its re-releases, anytime. And while the graphics are dated, I don't think it looks bad at all. Clearly something like MGS1, which is as pixelated as anything and was made 6 years before Snake Eater, would have been transformed by the Delta treatment a lot more. Even if they changed almost nothing else, third person and modern graphics would have been an insanely different experience for that game. So while there's updated graphics and controls and some minor modifications that help the game feel a little smoother, I would have rather Snake Eater got something like the Resident Evil 4 or Silent Hill 2 remake treatment. Something where the original game is clearly there, but completely transformed. I can't say I didn't have fun because I had a lot of it, but I had fun largely because people 21 years ago made a fantastic game called Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. The fact that it can basically be released again 3 consoles later with minimal changes and still captivate audiences shows how high quality it is.